Hi, everybody. Lee McCroskey. One more time. Hope you've been having a great few days here at the semi-annual meeting, and you're getting a lot out of it. One thing that Katrin spoke to me about, we kind of talked about my final part, being on leadership principles to live by. So if you've got something to take notes on, fresh piece of paper, that's the title of this chat. And Dimitri said I only had about 2 hours to cover this. So I'm just kidding. Don't worry. Some of you just panicked. I'll go fast. This is a difficult topic because it's like saying, hey, Lee, in half hour or less, can you talk about all of life's principles just real quick and cover them for us? So I'm not going to try to do that. I'm going to go through a lot of the stuff I've read, some of the stuff I've learned from the John Maxwell program, some of the leadership principles I try to live by, but I'm going to put this into a list. I'll hit these for you pretty quickly. Not too many stories, certainly no videos, and not a PowerPoint. Yay, no PowerPoint. So take a few notes as we go through this. I am really proud to be in business with you. You have a fantastic company, great people, great leadership, a very nimble company, and certainly destined for greatness. And man, great product. I mean, whoo, nice stuff. Suits that can even manage a left hook in a fight scene. So you've got it all. But I have all kinds of confidence that you all are becoming global leaders in the fashion industry. So the main part, I guess what we're going to do, I'm going to go through this list of just ideas, jot them down, and then when we're finished, if you'll huddle together, I know we've got time built into the outline for you just to talk through some of these leadership principles. You might highlight ones that really mean a lot to you, or you feel like as a group or as an office team you need to work on. But anyway, we're just going to dive in. How many of you have enjoyed the seminar so far? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that you would respond to a video and you're engaged, and you are. Thank you for joining in. So let me talk first just a couple minutes about things that I think are specific a little bit to LGFG Fashionhouse and how to be successful there, some principles to guide you, and then we'll go to bigger principles, okay? So let's focus in. At my previous company, and some of you know this, I worked for 36 years in various roles at the Southwestern company, now called Southwestern Advantage. Some of you worked at Southwestern as you came up through the university ranks. Well, there were three things in that sales company. It was a direct sales company. And there were three things that we said that all salespeople needed to do to be successful. And I think this applies very much to what you guys do here at LGFG. One is we said you needed to study hard. So that's our first point today. Study hard. In other words, you got to know what you're doing. You've got to be technically trained. You have to know what to say, know how to handle objections, know how to approach effectively. You got to know a lot. So you got to study hard. All right. Another point. The second thing we taught people was that you have to work hard. Work hard. Embrace the grind. In your parlance, I always told people that selling is the lowest paying easy work and the highest paying hard work. Isn't that right? If you try to do it easy, it's really hard. But if you work this hard, it can get a lot easier. And you get paid. You make sales if you work hard. So for you guys, the harder you work, the easier this gets. All right? So you really got to get into the grind and just say, hey, that's part of the plan. I got to study hard. I got to work hard. A third principle that I think applies to what we're doing here is you've got to be coachable. Be coachable. And for some of you older veterans who may have joined LGFG coming from a previous sales background, you've got to be teachable again. You might have to unlearn some of your previous sales habits and maybe some of your thinking. In other words, I think under this whole notion of being coachable, you've got to surrender to this new way of thinking and performing. You know, I talked to one guy who is no longer here, that used to be here. And whenever we had a conversation, he'd say, well, at my old job or at my previous sales job, we kind of did it this way. And my answer to him finally, after hearing that quite a bit, was, excuse me, are you still working there? He's like, no. I said, well, get with the program. You can't, that doesn't apply anymore. This is some new rules here at LGFG. So you've got to be really coachable. So under this whole heading of being coachable, you've also got to give up your sense of entitlement, I think. This notion that, well, the company owes me this, or the I know there was a group of people I spoke with early on in my little career here who kind of felt like they were entitled, like, well, the company should do this for me, or the company owes me this. Well, not necessarily. Take time to be humble, be coachable again, make suggestions when appropriate, and something, you know, Dimitri's great about making a decision and turning on a dime if it benefits the company. So, but this notion that I'm owed things, no, not really. Be coachable. Okay, a couple other quick points under this heading. I'm going to call it this: puke up. So you can write that down. Puke up. Selling can be really frustrating. And actually, I got to clear that up. Not selling is frustrating. Selling is not frustrating. I never left a client after making a sale and just took their check and ripped it up, or their credit card and just dumped. I was never like really pissed when I got the order. That doesn't make sense. Selling is fun. Not selling is frustrating. But since, you know what I'm talking about when I say not selling, since we get frustrated, we've got to learn and really be careful about what we say to other people, especially in the office. We had a rule, again, my other company, this is a good rule, that once you were back with your office mates or roommates or teammates, you could not share your sales statistics with anybody. Why? Because it can be really discouraging to hear how great your office mates are doing. You know, somebody barges in and, yeah, I just killed it this week. Well, you're like, yay, I'm really happy for you. But it can also be discouraging. Okay? So if you're upset, if you've got something going on, if you're frustrated and you need to talk to somebody, puke up the chain of command. Think of a ladder. So don't puke, don't barf your problems laterally on your office mates, because that brings the whole group down. Does that make sense? So go to your manager with your emotional problems. Everybody's emotional sometimes. It's good to get it off our chest, but go up, puke up. You know, we always, my roommates and I, one year when we were living together and selling together, we just tried to be really vague about what kind of day we had. So if you had a good day or a bad day, I lived with a guy who was so good at this. We'd say, how did your day go? And he said, it's really interesting. And that could mean I had all kinds of problems and setbacks and my appointments canceled and everything else. Or he'd say, I had a really interesting day. And he could have had a great day. You just couldn't tell. Or he would say, I learned a lot. Man, did I learn a lot today. That's good. It keeps it away from stats. All right, puke up. Let's do another one pertaining to our little company. I would write down, think unity. Think unity, in quotes. At the office, we're all on the same team. We've got to help each other win. So what think unity means to me is you've got to build up the people who are above you in the chain of command. Build up people who are above you. What that means, conversely, is you don't gripe and complain about the people above you. All right? Now, it's sometimes, I've done this myself many a time. It sometimes feels good at the moment to kind of bitch about somebody, or like, I wish they would, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It always comes back to bite you. So we've got to watch our words. We've got to puke up. We got to take care and know that we influence the people around us. It's impossible to be just an island unto yourself. You know, like the old Simon and Garfunkel tune, I am a rock, I am an island. Yeah, well, no, you're not. You're in an office. I'm in an office. Okay, this is what we call an ad lib. I'll keep going. Right. Let me give you a quote. Edwin Markham said this: "There's a destiny among us that makes us brothers. No one goes his way alone. What we put into the lives of others comes back into our own." So if you're complaining and griping and upset all the time, you know people like this who are just kind of, as soon as they walk into the room, it darkens, or as soon as they leave, it brightens. Don't be one of those people. Think unity. All right. All right. Last little thing I want to mention before I get into some other topics is, and I stole this from a Canadian consultant that I really love. His name's Dan Sullivan. And I've used and talked about this for years. And some of you have heard me talk about it, and you will hear me talk about it again. But he is with a group called Strategic Coach. And he came up with what he calls the 4 habits of referability. So this is 1 point in 4 little subpoints. But the 4 habits of referability, he just said, look, if you want to have more business than you can handle, if you want to have all kinds of clients, if you want to be referred a lot, you've got to be different than most entrepreneurs. So he said there's 4 things you do. If you just boil it all down, simple things, you do these things, you win. You don't do these things, you're kind of average. You're like everybody else. Okay, number 1, he said, be on time. Number 1's be on time. That's simple. We've all been with people who are not on time or are habitually late. You start to lose respect. So be on time. Number 2, you do what you say. Do what you say. You know, don't say something and do something else, especially with a client. You can't promise them something and then not deliver. So number 2 is do what you say. These little 4 little points. 3rd, makes sense here, finish what you start. Finish what you start. The world is full of people who pull up short and quit. Sometimes they're on the brink of victory, but they don't finish. Finish what you start. Be a deliverer, not a promiser. And the 4th thing, which I think is super simple, but people avoid it sometimes, is just to say please and thank you. Say please and thank you. Be courteous. All right? So Dan Sullivan coaches us to say, be on time, do what you say, finish what you start, say please and thank you. Do that, you'll have all kinds of clients. I like it. Time for another quote. Charles Noble said this: first we make our habits, then our habits make us. First we make our habits, then our habits make us. So adopt those habits of referability. Be known as somebody that you can count on. All right, now let's go on to leadership principles that will help you win in life in a broader picture. All right, first off, jot this down. Leaders bounce back from failures and setbacks. Leaders bounce back. They recover, right? Our best sellers at LGFG, if you talk to them, they didn't come out of the blocks blazing with sales. They had some slow starts. Some of you have heard their stories this week at the semi-annual meeting. See, we think that tops, especially if you're new in the business, we think top sellers are glorious. They have no problems. They walk on water. This is not true. If you do well, if you're going to do well here, let me just share a little secret. Whomever can get perspective quickly when there's a setback wins. Whoever can get perspective quickly wins. And I'm thankful for some of my setbacks, because my biggest learning experiences were my biggest disappointments. Remember what we talked about? I mentioned this on calls. There is no failure, only feedback. So rather than telling yourself in your own mind, man, I really blew it this week, or this has been a crap month, you're not failing, you're getting feedback. Maybe feedback on how not to do the business, right? Because when we succeed, we party, woo, we don't analyze. When we fail, we ponder. That's what we want. We want to think. We want to be able to bounce back. So I think God gives you difficult days and challenges and frustrations to help you mature and grow. We don't grow when things are easy. So learn to bounce back. Be a champion rebounder. And that will serve you well. All right, here's another one. Jot this down. Develop a mindset of gratitude. a mindset of gratitude. Gratitude, being grateful, can transform really boring common days into fun Thanksgivings. It can take a really routine job, if you're feeling like, here I am, I'm doing this again, into joyful experiences. It can change opportunities into blessings. That's something that William Ward shared. Gratitude can transform common days into Thanksgivings, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings. So you get to choose your thoughts and your focus. And I've always been excited when my kids were young and growing up, and we always taught them to say thank you, like say thank you. So that's something you impose on them. But later, as they get older, the first sign of maturity in a young person is gratitude, being grateful. So let me ask you, are you grateful for your career here? Look around the room. People nodding, I hope, after this seminar. Are you thankful for the opportunity to grow? Are you thankful for your unique talents? Yes. I mean, there's so much to be grateful for. I mean, that's an exercise. When I'm with you live sometime, we're going to go through the gratitude principle, which I think will be great. Doris Day, a famous actress here in the States, said, gratitude is riches, complaint is poverty. So develop that attitude of gratitude. All right, let's go on to the next one. Let me just start off. I've had so many young people, as I worked with university students over the years, tell me, I want to be a leader. I want to lead people. I want to be on stage, or I want to be able to, they wanted to be a leader. So my question was always, are you leading yourself? I've had people ask me or tell me, I want to do what you do. This was back in the day. Then I was kind of like John Maxwell. I said, well, are you willing to do what I've done to do what I do? Think about that. There's some sacrifice involved. So if you want to be a leader, here's the point. You're like, what do I write down? First, learn to lead yourself. Lead yourself. That's a leadership principle to live by. Self-discipline's the key. No one is going to follow you if they don't want to emulate you in some way, right? Self-management is essential. People want to be around leaders who are helping them grow. And so we got to lead by example. If you lead by example, if you lead yourself, you're going to win. You're going to be good, period. End of topic. Next one. This sounds easy. It's hard. Write this down. Be real. Be real. Be authentic. What does that mean? Be transparent. What does that mean? Be open. Tell people how you feel appropriately. Like, who do you know that you would consider as a real, genuine person? They're easy to be with. I've found that those people are not only comfortable to be with, they're not perfect. And you know what? They admit it. And that makes them even more appealing. So study those people that are real. Be someone that people want to be around. Be real. Okay? That ties into the next point. Here's another one. I've got more points. Be humble. Be humble. Clothing yourself in humility, along with a nice LGFG suit, is attractive. So try not to think of yourself all the time. Now that's easy to say, hard to do. Admit when you've done something wrong. Learn how to say, I'm sorry. That's a great way to be humble. And those are, you know what? This is hard for guys, especially, to say, I'm sorry, and mean it. It's not just like, sorry, but to really apologize. Men, we're not programmed for apologies. Those are the two hardest words you'll ever say to your partner or your wife is, I'm sorry. Yee, not fun. But people appreciate that. You get emotional credits in that emotional bank account. Okay? So be humble. Here's another point. Develop courage. Develop courage. I've been watching Ken Burns documentaries on great wars and conflicts. Now, it takes courage. I try to put myself into those battle scenes of the Civil War, the American Civil War, or the the Vietnam War. That's the ones we've been currently watching. And I'm like, wow, would I have the courage under fire to stay brave, to lead the charge? Well, that's one type of courage. But you know what? It also takes courage to pick up the phone and cold call if you have to, It takes courage to float people. It takes courage to keep working when you don't feel like it. Those are little victories when you do that. It takes courage to ask for a sale, It takes courage to maybe ask for a bigger package, or to say, hey, I sell shoes and ties and you know what? And belts. It takes courage to change what you're doing. It takes courage to build a relationship with an intimidating client, But some of you, think back to when you first started. How much more courage do you have now than when you started? Take inventory of that. That's a good thing. So if you want to be a good leader, you got to have courage. This is a quote, if you do the things you fear, the death of those fears is certain. Do that thing that you fear, and the death of that fear is certain. All right, another point. Guard your thoughts. Guard your mind. Okay? Guard your thoughts. Guard your mind. And that guards your heart. Okay, in other words, watch what you watch. What do you pay attention to? I would always try, when I was selling, for sure, pouring positive, uplifting thoughts, images, and ideas into my mind. I would encourage you to do that. I would not pour garbage into your head. Some of us get lazy, and our thoughts, our fantasy, you can just get distracted during the day, and suddenly you're daydreaming or back on Facebook or something. It runs away with us. What I try to do to guard my thoughts and my mind, my heart, is I sit down every morning and read my Bible, no matter what. It's the first thing I do, because I know if I'm putting good material, spiritual and otherwise, a message from God into my head, that's going to help change how I live. I'm trying to remind myself that I'm human, I'm flawed. I'm trying to focus on long-range things and also to focus on other people. So I'd pray a lot. I ask God for help, and so I'm guarding my thoughts. So I encourage you to guard your thoughts, however you do that. Watch what you think about. Next point, prioritize your life. Prioritize your life along your tasks. So what's most important to you? I would guess your relationships. How are you prioritizing for the long run? Do you take the long view? You've got to be intentional, or just, guess what? Life just slips by. I'd heard there are 3 types of people. One group makes things happen. They live intentionally. They prioritize. Another group watches things happen. That's the vast majority of the world. And then there's another group that just asks, what happened? So think balance, think priorities, and remember there are no shortcuts to anywhere worth going. So here's another point. Well, I think you can include this in the last one. Yeah, keep going on this point. Just remember, leaders use each day to grow in some way. We've sent out that article before. I'll send it again sometime. What you're someday going to be, you are now becoming. Okay? So part of priorities is to make growth a priority. I know a lot of you read, a lot of you work out. Some of you constructed mind gyms so you can mentally picture what you want to happen. I know I do all kinds of stuff to stay tuned up. Practice. I play the piano, watch TED Talks, listen to podcasts, do that stuff because it's going to help you grow. All right, next point. I'm not numbering these, so I don't know what number we're on. And I don't care. Next point. Care about people. Care about people. This is one of the hardest ones, I would say, as far as a life principle to teach. It's more of what I would call a heart issue, almost a spiritual issue than a topic to teach. Like if you read something online about 10 ways to care about people, then that doesn't work. This is an inside out job. Maxwell talks about when you work on your insides, then your outsides improve. And you make your inside work, more than your outside work. So I can't teach you to care. I've never gone to any class on caring at a university or otherwise. I'm not certified in caring, but that's something that I can point you towards. All right. One thing to care about, this the next point, is your reputation. Care about your reputation. Got a couple more points. We'll be done. We spent a lot of time in our leadership calls talking about self-awareness. Internal self-awareness, like how we think about ourselves. Also, external self-awareness, how other people see us. How you see yourself, how other people see you, that's your reputation. And you can't lead if people don't want to be like you, right? We know people who have lousy reputations, and you're not the first to sign up to follow those people because they don't have any qualities of character that you want to try to emulate. So don't get obsessed with your reputation, but at least be mindful of it, care about it, okay? Because if you want to be a leader, you do have a reputation in various circles, social circles that you're in. All right. One thing that will help you be a great leader, one more principle, is to practice listening. Be quiet. And I'm telling you things I have to work on. Be interested in someone other than yourself. I mean, how many times, if we're looking at a group photo, you'll take pictures of our semi-annual meeting, you go online, everybody's posting stuff and tagging each other, and you open that up and where am I? Oh, there I am. How do I look? Ooh, I look pretty good. Well, I wish I'd worn a different. We're good at caring about ourselves from the time we're very young, but to listen, to take time for other people and be interested in them is a great way that you can, it's a great gift to share with others. Listening is the best way to put deposits in someone else's emotional bank account. Okay? Let me add one more here and you guys, I hope this isn't, I'm not beating you up with this a whole lot, but I do want to mention it because if I didn't, I wouldn't be being true to myself. I would say the final life principle that helps me and millions of others get through it is to look to God for help and for answers. Look to God. He didn't create a world where we could make him unnecessary. But don't we all try to do this? I do. I mean, I like to do things on my own. I'm like, I got this, God. And that's probably not the best way to, in my model of the world, to go about it. Because what helped me is I had to kind of come to the end of myself before I became open-minded in exploring that side of life. And there really just is into talking to God. Remember Covey, when we watched the Covey series? I think it was back in Leeds. We went through all of Stephen Covey's material. And what he talked about was he said, the longer I live, the less control I know I have. He said, we are not in control. Principles are in control. He talked about the 7 habits of highly effective people. Well, those natural laws, I believe, were created by God, just like the universe around us. And I saw a cool clip on YouTube from Chris Pratt. I don't know if any of you know who Chris Pratt is. He's a famous actor. He's an American actor. His latest movie release was Jurassic World Part 2. If you saw that, he's kind of one of the main characters. But he was at the MTV Generation Awards, and he was this year's Generation Award winner. So if you look that up, he has a real interesting speech he gave to the young people that were there, and it was all about 9 tips to be successful in life. And a little bit into that, he was going through one of them is how you get a dog to take its medicine. So somebody's funny and frivolous. But one of his points was this. He said, listen, kids, listen, people, God is real. God loves you, and he wants what's best for you. So I always thought it would be smart for me to kind of align myself. If God's real, it would be smart to align myself with the being that ordered the entire universe. That would be smart. So I started looking into it and exploring heavily. And I remember I ran across a little passage in the Bible which said, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. So I thought, you know what? God's not hiding from me. So I started to explore. And I encourage you to do that too. He won't disappoint you. Just talk to him. So I'll wrap up. I have enjoyed being with you via video and webinars. My hope is that I'll get to see you live sometime because I love spending time with you. I will continue to pray for you guys for your growth and for your success at LGFG. I encourage you, have a great finish to this meeting and decide before you leave what you're going to change and why it's important to you. And if you make that decision before you go back into the heat of battle, you will win. Okay? So thanks. Let's look over this list now. They're going to stop the video and huddle together, discuss, put a star or 2 or 3 by ones that make the most sense to you. And if you have any questions or comments or want more input, drop me an email. But I love being with you guys, even though I'm not with you. Have a great finish to the meeting. We will see you.